hope to touch 300.
Okay. Shall we start?
Just 1 minute.
Vijay, there are people coming in. So
Okay.
Please wait. Yes, Vijay, now you can.
Good evening, members, and welcome to the 17th virtual CP meeting of our study circle. Before we start the session, let us raise for our institute motto along with the code of ethics.
य एष सुप्तेषु जागृति य एष सुप्तेषु जागृति कामं 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 कामुषो पुरुषो निर्विमाणः निर्विमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यपि कश्चन एतद्द्वैता 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 एतद्द्वैता
Welcome back, members. Today, we will be having on the topic of annual return form filing under the GST. As you know that it's a basic form which is based on the arithmetic calculation of all the details which were provided in GSTR 3B and GSTR 1 during the relevant period. But there are certain constraints, there are a lot of problems in it. People spend a lot of time in filling up the forms. So to have a more understanding how and in what effective manner we can fill the forms, we have today CA Parth Shah, who will be dealing with this subject. Now I request our committee member Pradeep Chandwani to briefly introduce him.
Thank you, Vijayji. It is my privilege to introduce our speaker, Parth Shah, today. Parth is a member of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and is currently associated with Gabawala & Company as a partner. The firm exclusively practices in indirect taxes, especially GST. With the primary interest of taxation, his area of focus has been taxation and indirect taxation, and he appears for indirect taxation up to appellate tribunal level. Parth is a regular speaker at various forums of ICAI, BCAs. He has also been writing articles at various forums, and he is also a member of Indirect Tax Committee of Bombay Chartered Accountants Society. With this brief introduction, I would like to welcome our today's speaker and also grant him a token of appreciation in the form of contribution to CABF fund from BCSE on his behalf, which is a token of appreciation. You are welcome, sir, today.
Thank you.
And with this brief introduction, I would like to ask him to start the proceedings of the lecture.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pradeep bhai. Thank you to all the members of the BCSE for inviting me for this session. I hope you can hear me, right?
Yes,
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, so the topic for today, like Vijay bhai said, is very relevant as well as not relevant also to some extent. GSTR 9 is the annual return for under GST, like we had under VAT, we had Form 704. But that was an audit. There was no annual return under VAT regime. There was no annual return under service tax. So GST, we have a provision for annual as well as a reconciliation certificate. The difference between annual return, which you do in GSTR 9, and the reconciliation certificate under GSTR 9C is that generally it would be a scenario that GSTR 9 is mandatory in all cases, but 9C would be only in those cases where the turnover limit is being crossed. Of course, we are looking at a lot of extensions here, a lot of relaxations also in filing GSTR 9. So in today's presentation, what I'm proposing to do is, we'll be just touching aside the applicability of GSTR 9 for financial year 18-19 in principle, means what kind of taxpayers are required to file their GSTR 9 and how to determine turnover threshold, how we determine turnover. Secondly, we will go into the second aspect of GSTR 9, the disclosure of details relating to outward supplies, how to deal with the various issues which are there, and the documentation aspect, which if you are doing it as a consultant, you should maintain for your client, and how if you're also an auditor, there will be some interrelation between GSTR 9 and 9C, which we'll deal with. Secondly, we will deal with the inward supplies part, the IT. There are some other disclosures in GSTR 9, such as relating to refund or some other issues like DRC 03. There's some liability under GSTR 9. How do you report it in your? How do you pay it off? How do you go on to report your GSTR 9C and all stuff? Primarily, our focus of a discussion today will be GSTR 9 only. There will be on very limited exposure to GSTR 9C as I speak, only where it's felt extremely relevant, we will take up. I have also received a set of queries which are raised by the participants. What I will be doing is, I will try to cover some of case studies in my talk. So we'll first do a talk of around 60 minutes to 70 minutes of my presentation, where I will deal with those case studies, and invariably, some majority of the queries which are raised by the audience are taken up. After that, maybe perhaps if some queries are remaining, during that part, like if I'm talking about outward supplies and your query is not getting resolved during that point of time, just put it in the chat box. After I'm done with my presentation, I will take up those queries also. And at the end of the day, if something is completely missed out, we will take at the end of my session. Okay. Okay. So let's go to the first part of our today's discussion. What is the applicability for 2018-19? What is the limit has to be looked at? primary provisions and notification says that it is based on the aggregate turnover, which is defined under the GST Act. And there are three thresholds. One, if the aggregate turnover of a taxable person during the previous year, financial year 18-19, was less than 2 crores, both GSTR 9 is optional for him and GSTR 9C is not required to be filed. Both are optional for him. However, if his turnover crosses 2 crores, but is less than 5 crores, GSTR 9 is required to be filed by such dealer, though he is not required to file GSTR 9C. It is optional. He can always exercise the right to file 9C if he wants to, but it is optional. And third case, where your aggregate turnover crosses 5 crores in the previous financial year, in such a case, you are required to file a GSTR 9 mandatorily, as well as GSTR 9C, which is our form for audit. Both are compulsorily required. Now, while this is just a summarization of a turnover or a requirement to get yourself to file GSTR 9, we also need to look at what do you mean by aggregate turnover. Now, aggregate turnover is not the turnover as per a client's books of accounts. Primarily, aggregate turnover is the total value of invoices, debit notes, and credit notes issued by a dealer during the year. It may not form part of his top line in the balance sheet. Many clients do a reimbursement model. It might go into their shown net of expense or something. So what aggregate turnover is? It's a sum total of all invoices, debit notes, and credit notes issued under GST. It also includes exempt income. So now there's a question of whether interest income which is earned by a company, whether it's an exempt income under GST because there is some exemption notification under notification 12/2017. So it becomes an exempt income. And if you take a position that, okay, chalo, interest for exemption, that's an exemption to interest income. And so if that position you're taking, in such a case, you might be required to file GSTR 9 if your turnover crosses 2 crores. And at times even 9C might trigger because of just this interest income. So to be very careful, aggregate turnover, I will summarize again what it comprises of. Aggregate turnover will comprise of some total of notes, invoice, notes issued during the month, which have a GST effect to you. And lastly, you have to add such other exempt income which might not be forming part of a top line, or which might not be liable to GST, but are exempt for the purpose of GST. It will also include your non-GST supplies like supply of liquor or supply of petroleum products in many cases which we have. So all those things would be considered for aggregate turnover, for determining your aggregate turnover and determining whether you're falling under any of these baskets or not. That is the first part of our discussion today. So before we understand the flow of things in GSTR 9, I believe that we look at the modus operandi, how we are doing things today. When GST was introduced, we had an elaborate mechanism of filing GSTR 1, 2, 3, but it was all wishful thinking. We could not go beyond GSTR 1, which was furnishing our details of outward supplies. It was similar to what we had under VAT, where you used to just file Annexure J1 and end it. Even before introduction of GST, under VAT regime, we had that option, or we had that planning of bringing in matching concept, but it could not turn around at any point of time. At the end of the day, we ended up filing GSTR 1 as Annexure J1 under the VAT regime, which was a daily monthly sales statement. And that's what happened even under GST. We ended up filing GSTR 1 details of outward supplies, which got extended on multiple occasions and n number of deadlines were extended. And then they came with a makeshift arrangement, GSTR 3B, again a highly controversial return. First of all, the first controversy, whether it was a return or not, where we had to just give a summary of what were the transactions done during the month. So GSTR 3B was your outward supplies, summary of your supplies liable to reverse charge mechanism, and input tax credits to be claimed during a month. Based on this, you used to discharge your liability using your balances in credit ledger or cash ledger. And now, after we did for 17-18 this exercise, we were asked to file the annual return. Now, annual return, there was a lot of confusion that how we to prepare the details. Because in GSTR 1, when I'm filing my outward supplies, I had filed some data. In GSTR, information had gone. So how to deal with that aspect? That is what is very important in today's discussion. Now, before we proceed ahead, I have just looked at a couple of queries, which I'll just deal with it. One is that whether transaction in shares is to be considered in aggregate turnover. In my opinion, no, you do not need to do, because it is neither supply of goods nor a supply of service. If you look at the definition of goods, I think the securities has been excluded from the scope of goods itself. So there is no need to include transaction in shares in aggregate turnover. Okay. Now let's go to outward supplies, which is the first part of our GSTR 9. What does it talk about? This deals with the table 4, 5, 10 and 11 of GSTR. There are 15 tables. Table 1, 2 and 3 is the general information, basic data which you need to furnish of a client. The real information starts flowing from table 4 to table 15. There are many cases where they have given you, exemptions that you don't need to disclose these, or work around that you don't need to specifically disclose in this particular manner which is required in the format, but disclose it differently. So we will discuss each of those aspects together. So classification of supplies into table 4, 5, 10 and 11. Then there's the first step you need to do when filing GSTR 9. Second step is determining your comparison or making a comparison between the GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B and GSTR books. And third, comparing with the auto-populated details and identifying broad reasons for mismatch. I will come to the third part in some time. Now you see, when you're doing this exercise for preparing GSTR 9, you will inadvertently find that though you are not required to get yourselves audited in the GSTR 9C in form GSTR 9C, because the turnover is not crossing the stipulated limit, still you will find that you are required to do all this working. You will be required to prepare a reconciliation statement to determine the adjusted turnover which you are supposed to report in GSTR 1 or GSTR 3B, and determine the difference as to how you have fared, means how have you actually reported this thing. That is the process which is to be done in GSTR 9C. And whether you are required to do or not 9C, this is some exercise which every person should do, because an audit is not required and by the chartered accountant in such cases if you are crossing the 5 crore limit, but the department audit is going to be taken place there. The department will be conducting, and just like we were doing audit under service tax in EA audit or VAT audit, VAT assessments, same process will be required. They will be asking for this clarification. So it is always advisable that we have a proper reconciliation statement with us, all supporting workings which you would generally be preparing it in the course of an audit. And let me tell you, audit also is not that complicated under GST as compared to the other regime. The reconciliation process, it aids in your filing of GSTR 9 process. Okay. Let's go to the first form. Table 4. What does table 4 talk about? Now you see, when GST was introduced, a lot of different forms were expected, GSTR 1, 2, 3. And the 9 was drafted keeping those provisions in mind. So when we look at table 4 of GSTR 9, you will find that it's more captured from a GSTR 1 data, because it just expects you to segregate your data into different headers or different baskets, like what is your B2C supply during the year, what is your B2B supplies, so on, zero rate supplies, supplies to SEZ on payment of tax, and so on and on. So you have to be very clear about this part. This classification is till date required in GSTR 9 to be filled, though there are lots of relaxations which have been given, but there is no relaxations in this. The data needs to be classified into these 4 baskets, into 4A to 4F, whether you are supplying to an unregistered person or to a registered person. And primarily the data will have to be matched with your GSTR 9.1 data, because even when you go to your GST portal and download GSTR 9 draft, they will give you some figures up front that, okay, according to GST portal, your figures in GSTR 9 in table 4A or table 4B or 4C should be so and so. How will they arrive at that figure? That they will arrive it based on your GSTR 1 file for that financial year vis-a-vis the document date. See, many times it might have happened that in 17-18 you have missed reporting a transaction of B2B supplies which are reporting in 18-19. The GST portal, when they are preparing an auto-populated GSTR 9 for you for 18-19, they will not consider the transaction of 17-18 which are getting reported in 18-19. You have to be careful about that. So let's say if you're doing this comparison, you're downloading the annual summary of GSTR 1, there will be a mismatch between annual summary of GSTR 1 and annual summary of GSTR 9. Okay, so that is one aspect. So second thing you will note here is that GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B. See, GSTR 1 is merely a statement of outward supplies, where you have furnished your outward supplies. It is not actually linked with the liability which you're discharging in your GSTR 3B. There can be cases where your liability in GSTR 1 was X and the liability reported in GSTR 3B, which was actually ultimately discharged, was Y. And if it is matching, well and good. In a standard case, your liability in GSTR 1 and liability in GSTR 3B is supposed to match. But there are cases where it does not match. For example, in one particular month, I reported a transaction in GSTR 1, but I could not report it in GSTR 3B. I missed to report it. So there will always be a mismatch, and I report it in the next year. How will you deal with that? Let me give you a wonderful example for this, a very common example of credit notes. Let's say in a particular month, or say March 19, the taxable person had no output supplies, and there was only one credit note. So he reported it in his GSTR 1 as credit note, which gets reported in 4I here. But when filing 3B, when the actual discharge of liability took place, not to adjust the negative amount in his output liability. Because as we all know, GSTR 3B does not allow you to report negative values. In such a case, there is a press release which has been issued by the CBIC, and they have very clearly said that your table 4 and table 5 of GSTR 9, though it captures data from your GSTR 1, it should be linked with your GSTR 3B because your payment of tax takes place only through GSTR 3B. So what would it mean? It would mean that even if you have reported a liability of 80 in your GSTR 1, your 3B would show a liability of 100. And in such a case, you have to be careful. You have to make note that there is a 100 rupees liability reported in GSTR 9 table 4 and 5. Whatever is the difference, let's say 20 rupees credit note you are adjusting in the next month, though it was reported correctly in credit note in the correct tax period, in your GSTR 9, you should report it in table 10 and 11, which will come in some time, as liability or discharge in the next year or credit taken in the next year. It's very important to keep this aspect in mind. Second point, when you're filing GSTR 9 online, you will also observe that there are some auto-populated details. And if you are doing any variation in those auto-populated details, the system will throw you out an error if the variation is more than 20% of what was determined by the system. They don't prohibit you from making those changes, but they warn you. And perhaps today, while they're not doing it, it might happen that after 2 years down the line, they might send reports to the jurisdiction offices saying that this GSTR 9 filed by the taxable person has variation from what he has actually reported in his GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B. We all know even today there are notices coming from DGARM that your GSTR 3B credit does not match with GSTR 2A. There is variation. There is nothing to stop them from doing similar exercise for GSTR 1 and GSTR 9, especially when the variation is on the lower side, means you have reported lower in GSTR 9 as compared to your GSTR 1 or GSTR 3B. So you should be very careful about that. That is 4A, 4B, 4C, D and D. This is a general routine supplies which you make. Just a second. Okay. Now, what we also need to note here is that, at times there are some clients who file refund claims, like exporters or supplies to assist on payment of tax deemed exports. It is important that in such cases, you do not club this transaction into 4B, or say SEZ on payment of tax supplies, you do not club with 4B, because it is possible that then at the time of assessment, or if you file a refund claim after filing the annual return, the officer might challenge your claim saying that you have not disclosed GSTR 9 correctly. Legally, you can fight, but it is very important that you take care of these smaller aspects. Same way, 4F, advances on which tax has been paid. You have to show net of advances, meaning advance received during the period minus advance adjusted. 4G, inward supplies on which tax is to be paid on reverse charge basis, meaning amount on which tax was supposed to be paid. That is what the interpretation goes. But GSTR 3B, the board has clarified that 4G means actual liability discharged during the year. For example, let me give an example. If today in 1819 you reported a RCM liability of 100 rupees, but actually it was 120 and 20 rupees you are reporting in 1920, the board has said that you report only 100 in this year, 20 in the next year. But suppose your liability is 120 and you don't report anything, and you don't report the 20 rupees in 1819 also and also 1920. In such a case, the board has suggested that you pay 120 here, claim 100 credit, and 20 rupees will be your subject matter to. That is the second part. Credit notes one important aspect, you have to be very careful that credit notes should be claimed or should be disclosed at least once in GSTR1, either same year or next year, irrespective of when you actually claim in TB. Claiming for in it in three, if you're not reporting it in a GSTR1, there is a possibility the department might come back to you and say that you have not claimed this credit note within the prescribed time limit of section 16 or sorry, section 33, and they might deny you the benefit of reduction in output tax liability. It is very important that you keep a note of this part. Same way 4K and 4L, supplies or tax declared through amendments. Whenever there is an amendment and if they have a tax liability impact, like if you change the value of an invoice, that will get reflected in 4K and 4L. Now about 4I to 4L, you need to understand one thing also, that for financial year 18-19, it is an option has been given to taxpayers. You don't report the credit notes, debit notes at these respective tables, but you club it with the main category of the transaction. For example, if there's a credit note relating to B2B, you show it net of B2B, credit notes in 4B or 4C respectively. Okay, that is one option fact which you need to keep in mind. But our advice would be that if there's a claim of credit note, you show it separately at 4I and 4J wherever data is available. Okay, I'll just go through some of the queries which I'm looking at the chat box. One query is if GST paid as per GSTR 3B is more than GSTR 1 and books are matching, how to treat additional amount paid? I will come to that in some time. For interest income, there was an AR judgment, so is it supposed to be considered? Very frankly, it's a subject matter of dispute. ARs don't lay down legal position or precedent. They're not a good precedent because they apply only to the person who have gone for AR. So in my view, if you feel that interest is an exempt income, you should consider it. If you treat that interest is not an exempt income, it's not a supply itself. There is no supply involved when you give money to on loan or advance to someone, you can ignore it. Third, whether forfeiture of income of builder to be considered in aggregate turnover. Again, are you treating it as an income for the builder? Is the builder treating it as a consideration received for a supply of service? If the answer to that is yes, then if he's paying tax on it, you have to consider it in your aggregate turnover. But if he's saying it's not a supply involved, there is no supply involved, it is not to be considered. An invoice of financial year 17-18 was filed in the return of financial year 18-19. So do we need to add that amount in financial year 18-19 GST return? I will come to that. We have a specific case study for that. Again, RCM, we have a specific case study. Zero rated export on payment of tax, refund received directly into bank account as soon as GSTR1 data matches with shipping bills of customized gate system. Whether these refunds are required to be shown, we'll come to that in some time. But yes, if you're exporting on payment of tax, just a minute. If you are making an export on payment of tax, it is advisable that you make sure that those amounts are reported as exports here. It should come in your table 4D, 4C, export of goods or export of service on payment of tax. That if there's a correlation, it is well and good. Next part, details of outward supplies and inward supplies made during the financial year. Here, where tax is not payable. So table 4 dealt with cases where tax is payable. Now we come to table 5 where tax is not payable. It primarily covers cases like zero date supplies made without payment of tax, including exports, SEZ. Third, supplies on which tax is to be paid by the recipient on reverse charge basis. Here you should be careful because many times when you download reports from your portal, or if you take GSTR1 of the portal, it does not show it separately in your GSTR1 reports. So if a client is providing services which is under reverse charge, like a transport service or sponsorship service, you should make sure that it is not reported in table 4B, but it should be reported in 4C. Same way in 5C, sorry. Same way exempted, new rated and non-GST supplies will be reported here. Exempted, new rated and non-GST. Again, credit notes relating to the 5A to 5F has to be reported in 5H and the debit notes in 5I. Same way amendments, whether it's increasing the supply value or reducing. Sorry. Important to note again, just like in table 4, we had an option that, credit note, debit note information I don't give separately. Same way in exports, in table 5 also you have an option. So that is one part you should take care of. Okay. Next comes table 10 and 11. So primarily what they require here you to give is if there is any liability which is declared through amendment in the next financial year. Say 18-19 liability invoice is disclosed in GSTR 3B of next financial year, or 18-19 credit note is claimed in the next financial year, you have to include that information in table 10 and table 11. Okay. So let's go to the first case study. Now, before we go to this case study, I will again reiterate or go back to what the basics of table 4, 5, and 10 and 11. Table 4, 5, 10, and 11 is your details of outward supplies or details of your liability which you should have disclosed in your GSTR 3B. For preparing your table 4, 5, 10, and 11, though breakup is required in GSTR 1 type, table 4, 5, 10, and 11 has to be vis-a-vis your GSTR 3B, your actual liability discharged. So let us take this example here. There is a company which had a turnover of rupees 5 crores in 17-18. However, there's a mismatch of what happened was GSTR 3B. In 17-18 they reported 400 and in 18-19 they reported 100 crores. So when they were filing their GSTR 9 for 17-18, they reported 400 crores in table 4 and table 5, and they reported 100 crores in table 10 and table 11 respectively. Now in 18-19, their turnover details is that they have taxable turnover of 7.5 crores. Now in 18-19, they have reported that this turnover of this 7.5 crores, they have reported 5 crores in 18-19 and 2.5 crores in 19-20. I should also remind you that in 18-19, they have also reported the turnover of 17-18 of 1 CR. So how will you do the entire reporting, or how will the reporting pan out in GSTR 9? Now, when we are deciding or when we are analyzing how to report in GSTR 9, this is a case where the client would be required to get his accounts audited also for GST purpose. We should also look at the implications under we should also look at the at what action you take, the implication of it when you're doing the GSTR 9C also. Your reporting should not be restricted keeping in mind GSTR 9, but both 9C also in mind. So let us take at first option, which is a very generic option. So as a taxpayer, I will say that table 4 of GSTR 9, which requires me to disclose turnover on which a tax was liable to be paid. I will take you back to table 4 format once. See, here it says details of advance, inward and outward supplies made during the financial year on which tax is payable. If I go by the simple meaning or simple reading of this heading of table 4, I would say that in my table 4 of GSTR 9, I will report turnover of 500 rupees, which is turnover reported in 18-19. And in table 10 and table 11, which says that adjustments made in the next financial year, I will report turnover of 202.50 crores. That way, my total turnover reported in GSTR 9 of 18-19 will be 7.5 crores, and my tax amount will also match with the liability, which should have been reported. But then when you do the reporting in this particular manner, you will face a challenge when doing the GSTR 9. What will happen is you will end up with an excess payment of tax in the GSTR 9, because when you are filing your 17-18 GSTR 9, sorry, 18-19 GSTR 3B, there was a turnover of 17-18 which was reported in table in GSTR 3B, and so that amount became part of your liability discharged. So that liability was discharged in 18-19, and therefore it will get covered here in this particular basket of liability discharged. So you end up in GSTR 9 of 18-19 with an amount showing an excess payment of 18 rupees. If it was a case of credit note taken in the next year, you would have ended up with the GSTR 9 showing short payment. So now when you're doing a GSTR 9, and if your liability discharge does not end up to 0, it is surely to attract attention of the taxpayer or the tax authorities in that case. And so there will be some challenge which you will face. So let us go to second option which we can consider here. The second option, which also gels well with the GSTR, the press release issued by the CBIC, it says that you report transaction as disclosed in GSTR 3B. So I will say whatever turnover of 17-18 I have disclosed in 18-19 and turnover of 18-19 in 18-19, that I will report in table 4 of my GSTR 9. And in table 10, I will report my turnover of 18-19, which has been reported in 19-20. When I do this, now here I am ending up with the situation where my table 9 of GSTR 9 is matching. It shows no difference. But if I do reporting in this manner, then my GSTR 9C will show an excess a short payment, because GSTR 9C will compare with the liability payable during the year, which will be around tax on 7.5 crores. But your GSTR 9 is showing a tax of 8.5 crores, and therefore there's a short payment of liability. Now, if you as an auditor are required opting for this scheme, whether you will be fine to say or give in your GSTR 9C a report disclosure that there's a difference in my turnover as per GSTR 9 or liability as per GSTR 9 and what I've determined. And this turnover of 18-19 actually pertains to 17-18. See, you are going into different year. When you do, if you do this in 18-19 assessment, you are opening up the assessment for 17-18 also. And at times, if the auditor is different, let's say 17-18 audit was done by X person and 18-19 audit is done by Y person, the Y guy would not be happy to go and comment on something which pertains to 17-18 audit. So we have a third option here which we can consider. The third option says that you do option 2. Whatever is said in option 2, you continue with that. But in option 3, when you're doing table 12 and 13, there is an option to say supplies increase through amendments and supplies reduce through amendments. So what you can do is, whatever liability of 17-18 has been discharged in 18-19, and you have to include it in table 4 and 5 above, so that your liability discharge became 0, you show it, you give its reverse effect in table 12 and table 13. So let's say if an invoice of 17-18, which was reported in 18-19, you will disclose it in table 4 or 4 of the GSTR 9 for 18-19. But same amount you will show in the opposite value in table 12 or table 13. So if it's an invoice, the negative amount will come in your table 13, table 11. And if it's a credit note of 17-18 claimed in 18-19, that amount will be added as in your table 10. So in this case, by following this option, you will end up with a situation where there is no differential liability coming in. Okay, there will be no mismatch in either in GSTR 9 or either in GSTR 9C. So it's a happy ending situation for both the parties, SSC and as well as the auditor, and even the authorities might be happy with this situation rather than such a case where you have difference. Okay. Now there's some incidental issues involved here. Here they're saying that in addition, while filing GSTR 3B for October 19, they reported liability of certain transactions relating to 18-19. Now this is important. See, if you go back to table 10 and table 11, what they're saying is for 18-19, particulars of transactions for financial year 18-19 declared in returns between April to September 2019. Only those transactions will form part of table 10 and table 11. Now many times it might happen that client say October 19 mein pata chala that some transactions of 18-19 were not reported in GSTR 3B. And the time limit to disclose it by September 19 has lapsed because I have filed my September 3B also, September 2019. And if that client has considered it or has reported it in the table or in GSTR 3B for October 2019, whether you will treat it in table 10 and table 11 for 18-19 is what you have to ponder. In my view, the form very clearly says that you should not do it because it's only for the liability which have been disclosed in April to September 2019. That time limit has gone. And so if that is the case, tomorrow an officer can come back to you and say that your disclosure or your reporting in GSTR 9 to this effect is incorrect because you had to report only transactions which are disclosed up to September 19. And therefore you might end up paying up tax here again, and whatever you have paid in October 19 might be treated as an excess payment of tax, which if the time has lapsed, you might not be able to claim refund. So you have to be very careful by dealing with this particular aspect. Okay, now I'll just take some of the Q&A. So the one query is, if by mistake sales return was shown as inward supply in 3B of 18-19, can we rectify the effect in 9 for 2018-19? If yes, then how? No, you cannot do it. The time limit is very clear. If you want to claim a sales reduction, you should have rectified the mistake in 1920 GSTR 3B up to September 2019. If you are not able to do it, the credit amount on account of is wrongly claimed, and the sales liability reduction on account of credit note will be lost. Suppose client has claimed less ITC in 3B, but audit it is more, how to adjust? You cannot adjust it if you have not claimed the ITC in your GSTR 3B, either of 18-19 or by April to September 2019, the credit is lost, it becomes time barred. How to show ITC? We'll come to that in some time. What will be the treatment of purchased goods in transit? I think we'll take it up at the end of the session. This is a bit specific query. 3B does not have separate disclosure for current month and previous month liability. How to segregate it? Correct. There is no option to give the disclosure in 3B, but we always have the option of preparing it a backend working in our Excel systems where you can do a comparison between the GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B. Wherever there's a reason, you can identify difference, you can identify the reason and keep a track for your purpose, which you can use during your GSTR 9 filing or assessment purpose. There is no other option available. Okay. I hope I'm not going much faster. Please let me know if I'm going too fast or you're having any issues in hearing.
No, you are going perfectly right.
Okay, thank you. Next, we go to case study number 2, RCM liability. So like I'll go back again to my GSTR 9 table 4. In column number G, in 4 column number G, we have inward supplies on which tax is liable to be paid on reverse charge basis. So here the wording says inward supply on which tax is to be paid on reverse charge basis. So as a layman, I would believe it is something, that if what is my actual liability to be paid in that particular month. But the government has clarified through a query, the board has clarified that in 4G, you have to report only the liability which you have disclosed in your GSTR 3B, which relates to that particular financial year. And if there is any liability which has not been disclosed in any other year, in the next year, that you can disclose there and discharge it by filing GSTR 9. So what I've done is I've taken a small case study on this part. ABC Limited had imported various goods from outside India on CIF basis. However, they had not discharged tax due to the interpretation issue whether tax is payable or not. So here the case is that in case of import of goods, where the import is on CIF basis, the importer on record is required to pay tax under reverse charge mechanism on a notional value. And this issue has been disputed both under the service tax regime as well as under the GST regime. We have decision of Gujarat High Court in Mohit Minerals where they held this entry to be ultra wires. But all of these auditors also have challenges to this, and so at times auditors might raise some query. Now in this case, what happened was they had not filed it for 17-18, and during audit in July 2018 they decided we will pay it off. We will pay it because auditors were creating a lot of hue and cry, and a lot of such things happen during audit nowadays. So while filing GSTR 9 for 17-18, their consultant advised that table 4G required disclosure of inward supplies on which tax is to be paid on reverse charge basis. So their consultant said आप 17-18 में दिखा दो liability. कि अगर आपका liability 100 rupees है तो आप वो 17-18 के 9 में दिखा दो. Though you have paid it in 3B of 18-19. So they did it, and many cases this has happened actually. And the auditors also reported the transaction in table 9 of GSTR 9C. Now when they do this, what will happen is in financial year 17-18, their table 4G of GSTR 9 shows 100 rupees as taxable value and 5 rupees liability. So tax payable is 5, but there is no actual payment of tax as per GSTR 9. So your GSTR 9 will show a balance tax payable for 17-18. Now, when you do this, on the contrast, in 18-19, you will end up with an excess payment of tax because there is no liability in GSTR 9. This liability already reported in GSTR 9 of 17-18. So you will end up with an excess payment of tax in 18-19. So what you need to, okay. So this is the one method. We will go to the second method. The second method, which would have been the correct way for the company, was they should have reported 100 rupees in 18-19 GSTR 9 because in 3B also you reported in that year and claimed the credit in that particular year only. And even the auditors should have noted that they should not have reported 100 rupees in 17-18, but they should have gone and done that in 18-19 only. Though in this case, what has happened is the auditors have reported a liability in 17-18. They are saying that as per them, there's a liability of 100 rupees. But in 18-19, but and it is payable. They might or they might not agree with the contention of the SEC that okay, we have paid this in 1819. In this scenario, you will end up again in the situation where in 1718 the auditor is recommending a liability of 5 rupees. In 1819 there is an excess payment of 5 rupees. Because in 1819 he will not say again, the auditor will not say that okay, that's the same liability, or he will not report a similar liability which has already been reported in 1718. So again, this scenario will lead you into challenges. So the primary or the best option to do here, or the best method to follow here for auditors as well as taxpayers or tax consultancies, that for reverse charge mechanism, whatever liability has been discharged during a particular year should be reported in GSTR 9 in that particular year when it was paid. So if a liability of it has been paid in 1819, though it pertained to 1718, it should be reported in 1819 GSTR 9. And on the converse, even the auditors should follow the same principle. At the most, if an auditor is not comfortable, say if it's doing 1718 audit and is not comfortable to sign that balance sheet, he can give a note saying that okay, in 1718 there is this liability, but the same has been discharged in the next financial year by the auditor. You can take an MRL. Otherwise, wherever there's a difference, even in GSTR 9 or 9C, it will be seeking the attention of the tax authorities. That is one thing which we have started to learn under GST. The best example is the cases where you are receiving notices for mismatch in your credit claimed as per 3B and GSTR 2A, both independent documents still. Here, there's a correlation in this reporting. And so that might open you up to proceeding. So this is one part we should take care. Okay. I'll just go through the Q&A if there's any new fresh queries. RCM not shown in 3B, can we show it in GSTR 9? Yes. So this is one more important question. If some reverse charge liability pertain to a financial year of 1819, let's say, you have not reported it in 1819, you failed to report it in 1920 also. So whether do you show it in 1819 GSTR 9 or not? The question is, the answer would be yes, you should report it in GSTR 9, pay the liability. The important question would be whether you can claim this credit in the next year or not. That is something which you might need to take a legal view on that. Okay. Next question is for annual return of 1819 in table 10 to 13. Can we show amendments of 1718 made in 1819 as well as the amendments of 1819 made in 1920? If there are amendments in both year made, figures will be shown net. Yes, you can show that. I already taken that scenario 3, option 3 of my case study. That is the best option which you can follow here, because then you will end up with a scenario where there is no difference either GSTR 9 as well as GSTR 9C if applicable. Last, can we pay RCM of 1819 and claim in financial year 2021? This is a subject matter of interpretation issue, whether the time barring provision under section 16(4) applies to reverse charge cases or not. So I think we might need to take a decision accordingly. Trading in F&O derivatives should be included in aggregate turnover, since in ITR it is shown as business income. The answer would depend on whether you are treating this, which these can be treated as a securities or not. Since I think the definition of goods itself excludes securities from its scope, I don't think you need to report it here. Next question is relating to ITC, which we will do it in some time. Okay, let's go to the next part, input tax credit. So input tax credit, part 3, details of ITC for the financial year. 6, details of ITC availed during the financial year. This is important here. See, table 4 says details of tax payable during the year. And here it's ITC availed during the financial year. Means what you have taken, not what you should have taken. Meaning, if your 2A shows ITC of 200, but you have taken only 100, you will show 100 rupees here only. Whereas in case of GSTR 9 table 4, if your liability tax collection is 200, but you have paid tax only on 150, for example, you will have to report 200 in table 4 or total table 10 and 11 somewhere. But that is not the case for GSTR 9. Here, what you have actually done in 1819, that you have to give breakup. Now, first part, table 6, it takes your table GSTR 3B 4A total, meaning your first part of table 4 of GSTR 3B, which deals with availment of ITC. Okay, it can be so when you are saying 4A of GSTR 3B, there are different heads: import of goods, import of service, ISD, RCM, domestic, and all other ITC. So all those data you have to segregate from 6B to 6H. Okay, now totality should match with the GSTR 3B. Let's say if they are in a situation where your availment in GSTR 3B, the for A total is 100, but your breakup or your purchase register shows 80. There's a difference of 20 rupees. You need to adjust that 20 rupees somewhere over here and bring this amount to 100. Unfortunately for ITC, there is no option to discharge liability under GST. Let's say you are liable to file only GSTR 9. You are not in a position, or the system somewhere does not allow you to determine if there is any excess claim of ITC or not. So our advice is that to clients generally is that you make sure that there is no difference in table 6J. If you identified some wrong claim credit, you pay it off later on by DRC 03 and keep it for your records. But there should not be any difference in GSTR 9 table 6J. That is one thing. Second thing, there's a lot of segregation they have asked. For wherever you have claimed ITC, you need to give breakup of how much pertains to inputs, capital goods, and input service. So while this data collection is very, very difficult process, a very time consuming and manual process. So for 1819 also, they have given this exemption. They have said you put everything in one basket of inputs. So if inputs ITC claimed on account of domestic purchases, put everything in inputs if you don't have the breakup. So it's well and good, you do it there. But a word of caution for those people who are claiming exports, a refund of unutilized ITC. There it is advisable that you give this breakup of capital goods and input service. At least of capital goods. Why? Because if you are exporter and claiming refund of accumulated ITC, you cannot claim refund of tax paid on capital goods. So that is one part you should be careful. You should try to keep those details here. Tomorrow the officer might come back to you and say, and start poking otherwise. He says that if in GSTR 9 you are not able to segregate, what is the comfort for me that, okay, you have not taken capital goods credit? And you will start delaying your ITC process. You will start issuing deficiency memo or show cause notice, saying that show cause why this should not be denied. So be very careful. Second part, in GSTR 3B, 4A.5 credit details, there's you have to report all other ITC credit. At times there might be some adjustments to ITC during a month, like you are reclaiming the credit reversed earlier under Rule 37 because you have made payment to that vendor, or during true up of Rule 42-43 reversal, you determined that there was an excess reversal of credit. So now you are reclaiming it as per Rule 42-43. All those items get reported in table 4A.5 of GSTR 3B. All such reclaim of credits will come at 6H. Please, when you're doing this working, make sure that you take care of this particular aspect. Next, transition credit. I don't think this would be applicable during this year in most of the clients. It's only for few clients who have taken the, who have gone through the rigors of writ petition and getting benefit from High Court or relief. They can bring those data here. One important aspect here, I will again repeat. There should not be a difference in 6J. This amount, in our view, should ideally be 0 only. Next part, table 7, details of ITC reversed and ineligible ITC during the financial year. So you have to give breakup in 4B, in table 4, in GSTR 3B, the second part of table 4, where you give the reversals, you need to give those breakup. Those items can come here at 7A to 7H. In our view, what we do as a practice at our firm also is that we make sure that whatever is the net ITC claimed as per GSTR 3B, that and the amount as per 7J matches. Now, one particular query which had come before me in this particular, for this session only, was how to report ineligible credit. So, like I said, your net ITC available for utilization should match with the net ITC claimed in GSTR 3B. So, let's say if in your GSTR 3B you have claimed 100 rupees, that is 120 minus 20 rupees reversal, you should report 120 in table 6, 20 minus is somewhere in 7A to 7H and 100. If ineligible credit, you are reporting in GSTR 3B in first part of table 4, meaning up 120, you first show it as 120 and then show minus 20 in other basket reversal, you will have to report it in 7E. If it's 17.5 ineligible, or for some other ineligible, you have to report in 7H. But if you are reporting it in the disclosure tab, there is one tab in GSTR 3B where you only disclose the amounts. It does not have an impact on your net ITC element of that month. In that case, you do not need to report it in table in GSTR 9 separately. Okay, I hope I am clear here. Okay, let us look at the queries now for this particular part. Trans 1 credit given by department in May 20. In which year it should report? I think it should come in May 2020 on 21 only. the year month in which it is getting reported in your electronic credit ledger. You should not go beyond that. There is one more query. 1718 ITC claimed in 1819 should be shown separately. We'll come to that now. We are coming to that table. So next part is GSTR 9 table 8. This somewhere deals with the reconciliation process which was envisaged initially. Here they take ITC as per GSTR 2A. So there is some basis for they arrived at a 2A figure for that particular year. Till last year, GSTR 9, we did not have the breakup for these amounts. And I believe now the portal has started giving you the breakup, Excel line item wise breakup for this amount also. So that is a one positive thing. Next thing they do is they take ITC as per sum total of 6B and 6H. Meaning whatever credit you are saying that I have received from inward supplies, other than imports and inward supplies liable to reverse charge, but includes service received from SEZ. Meaning jahan pe bhi matching hona hai, all those credits plus any other reclaim of credit which you have done. They take that figure here at 8B and then they come with 8C which says ITC on inward supplies received during 2018-19 but availed during April 19 to September 19. And then whatever is the balance, they're saying it's difference and they're saying this is ITC available but not availed or ITC available but ineligible. They are presuming. But when they're doing this, the portal fails to appreciate one important part. When I was doing my 1718 credit, when I was filing my 1718 GSTR 9, at that point of time also, in 8C I had said that ITC on inward supplies have been received during 1718, but they were available during April 2018 to March 2019. Meaning in 1819, in 1718 I have reported some figure at this in these 4 columns. So how to adjust that figure? Because that amount is getting covered in my 8B up, right? So here there is this genuine issue which people will start facing in 1819. So for this, for GSTR 9, they have given an option that while filing your audit report, you give us a reconciliation as per your records. You prepare a reconciliation here. If you want to add any line items to this, you can add, and you give us a reconciliation. But if you are a client or if you're a taxable person, if your client is a taxable person who is not required to get his accounts audited, the reporting under 8C will be very challenging. It is advisable that after you file your 8C, once you decide how to file, you give a detailed working of it as a letter or a supplementary letter to your jurisdictional commissioner. Otherwise, it will always raise challenges. Okay, that is one part. Next part, 8G and 8H. IGST paid on import of goods during the year. The general understanding would be that whatever total payment of tax is there as on import of goods, I will cover it in 8G here. And whatever has been claimed, I will show in 8H. And then this format came up with some option, with some weird line item here 8J which says ITC available but not lapsed, availed on import of goods, which it is presuming is lapsed. So this is wrong because there is no time limit applicable for claiming credit on import of goods. The law does not say that import of goods credit you have to claim in the same year. And this presumption, if this format would be wrong in presuming that if there is some mismatch in actual payment of IGST vis-a-vis the actual claim of corresponding credit, that amount will lapse. And therefore, in one of the press releases, the board has clarified that amounts to be reported at 8G should match with your amounts at 8H. So this becomes merely a showpiece and nothing else. This has no value for it. Next part, the reconciliation process. Part I will just repeat again. For table 8 is mandatory for 1819 also, but this disclosure, table number 12 and table number 13, it is not mandatory for 1819. But primarily, the net figure somewhere comes to and matches with your table 8C. Okay, I will take a case study first on this part. I'll just look at if there's some fresh question. Okay, the one query is that total ITC, net ITC as per 3B in GSTR 9 does not incorporate reversal. So there will always be a difference. I'm not sure. When you're filing GSTR 3B, there are two parts. One is the positive figures in GSTR 3B ITC and negative, your reversals. So if it's 120 minus 20, so you have to give the breakup in table 6 and table 7. If it's a case where you have not done that reversal at all, then it's a different thing which you can take up later on. Table 6B, input inward supplies. Does it include in credit taken for 17-18? Yes. Yes, it will include if any credit of 18-19, which is relating to matching transaction, means your supplier has charged tax and you have claimed it in 18-19, it will come in 6B. Do we need to bifurcate credit for 17-18 and report only credit for 18-19? No. Your amounts should match with your GSTR 3B. If your credit of 17-18 is claimed in 18-19 and reported in GSTR 3B, you will have to accordingly report it in GSTR 9 also. The segregation of credit, whether if you are claimed in 17-18 credit or not, that we will do it when you're doing a table 8 of GSTR 9. And I have taken a specific case study for that, which we will deal with in some time. Okay. Tran 1 credit wrongly availed in financial year 17-18. ITC reversed in books in financial year 18-19. ITC reversed in GSTR 3B of April 19. Whether any disclosure required for annual return of financial year 18-19? No, you can report it in 19-20 GSTR 9. That is fairly fine. Okay, let's take this case study. ABC Limited had availed credit as under in the GSTR 3B for financial year 18-19. So this is the breakup of credits which is appearing in their GSTR 3B. There is import of goods, import of service, ISD credits, as well as all other ITC, including recredits. And same way corresponding reversals under Rule 40 to 43 and other reversals. Okay. Sorry. Now, in 2018-19, they have claimed or disclosed credits relating to invoices of 17-18. Meaning in 18-19 GSTR 3B, their credits availed relating to 17-18 have been reported as under. So what this case study says is, in 4A5, all the ITC including recredits, this 25 lakhs of CGST includes 2.5 lakhs being credit of 17-18 invoice. Same way, credit reversed of 5 lakhs in 4B.2 under CGST column includes 4 lakh worth of credit pertaining to 17-18. Recredits of Rule 37 also are included in 18-19. Now, how will you report this in your GSTR 9? That is an important question. Okay. So in GSTR 9, your 6A starts with your GSTR 3B figure. So here it will take 25 lakh 18,000, 25 lakh 18,000 and 1 crore 7 lakh 25,000. So it will match with this particular figure of 4A total. Okay. Next, you will give the breakup. In your 6B, you have to give credit under forward charge mechanism. You have to give credit under RCM, registered, unregistered, import of goods, import of service, and ITC receipt from IST. So what I have done here is, see if you can look, there is all the ITC of 25 lakhs, but it also includes some recredit of Rule 37, meaning there was some reversal under Rule 37 in 17-18, which I have reversed, reclaimed in 18-19 of 1 lakh. So what I will do is, though it in my GSTR 3B I have reported it as 25 lakhs, I will say credits under forward charge mechanism where matching is actually required is only 24 lakhs. 1 lakh is my ITC reclaimed under the provisions of this act. I am reclaiming the credit under Rule 37, so I will give it a segregation here. This will help you when you are actually doing a table 8 and the annexure which is been recommended. Now, in general, under parlance, if suppose that option was not available to me for filing annexure or a separate working of for table 8 as advised in GSTR 9 format also, here what will happen is, you have 25 crore lakh 50,000 in your GSTR 2A and your table 6B and table 6H shows 25 lakhs and there's a difference of 50,000. But that is wrong. Why? Because there will be some credit which is pertaining to 17-18 and claimed in 18-19. It has been included in 8B. The corresponding credit as per 2A might not be there in 8A. So this table, even if you are giving this data, it would not be showing a true picture. So you need to work out a new mechanism, especially in cases where clients are liable for audit, and give the explanation and prepare a reconciliation as per your own figures. So here I have done a simple example. For example, in this case, the client's 6B plus 6H figure, which is also coming in GSTR 9, was 25 lakhs and 25 lakhs and 1 crore. But what we did was we reduced the transactions relating to 17-18, which have been claimed in 18-19, because that cannot be compared with my GSTR 2A figure of 18-19. They have to be matched with my GST at 2A figure of 1718. Of course, it is advisable that when you are doing this reduction here, you should go back and cross-check with the 1718 GST and 9, whether you have said that these amounts have been reported in table 12 and 13 and 8C or not. This will be very important. See, this figure, this table or this annexure will not immediately trigger a liability. But these are the bases or these are the touch points which are the starting point for department to initiate inquiry. And in cases where there's a substantial difference in this basket, table 8, we have seen at cases where they are initiating action under Rule 86A of blocking the credit. Meaning, if the difference is very huge in your GST at 2A vis-a-vis GST at 3B, officers, without giving any notice, any intimation, they will just block your credit of that amount, which your client will not be able to use it for discharging his liability. And believe me, the process of unblocking of credit is very difficult. They do a thorough investigation. It goes on for months, at least 2 months. And till that time, your client will have to end up paying tax only by cash. If he has accumulated balance of credit and if it gets blocked, he will not be able to utilize that. So to be very careful while dealing with this particular aspect. So this is one scenario. Second option of doing this is, now in second case we'll come here. Now here you will find what I have done is, the only difference is I have added credit of 1819 which have been claimed in 1920. Meaning ki 1819 ka credit next time I claimed kiya. So here I end up with adding 2.5 lakhs, 2.5 lakhs and 1,20,000, which in ideal situation should have gone in table 8C of my GSTR 9. So what it means is now I arrive at how much total credit pertaining to 1819 invoices I have claimed in my GST in GST. Okay, total credit pertaining to 1819 invoices has been claimed where matching principle might be applied. So that comes up to 28 lakhs. Now here, on the contrast, my GST at 2A is showing lesser amount. So this is a case where 86A proceedings might be started by the department if the amounts are substantial. Here we end up with a situation to say that the client has claimed excess credit compared to or vis-a-vis what is appearing in my GST at 2A. Now in 1819, it might not be a challenge because Rule 36.4 was not there in 1819. When you're doing 1920, even Rule 36.4 implications should be considered. And how we will deal with this, you should be very careful about it. Okay, so this is the last part of my ITC studies. Let's take some fresh question. What if wrong credit of IGST is claimed instead of CGST and SGST, and same is used for IGST? IGST and CGST and SGST also can be used for payment of IGST. A very valid question. Many times we have seen their clients wrong book credit under the wrong head. Instead of IGST, they book in C and S and utilize also. Unfortunately, department will not go. This position might not gel well with the department. That it's all fungible. I mean I can use IGST, CGST and SGST for payment of IGST also. But your availment itself, your availment of credit under the head of CGST and SGST is wrong. There are different authorities for both this purpose, and you might be liable to reverse the credit here in this case. If you are paying under the wrong head, let's say if your output side is on the wrong head, you have an option to claim refund under section 77. But claiming credit under the wrong head, there is no such option available under the law. You might get some benefit if you go to the High Court, but nothing below that. At the ground level, you will not get any benefit. ITC, which is in GST at 2A of financial 1819, taken in audited books for financial 1819, but taken in GST at 3B in January 2020, as there was no other liability till that return. Whether it is valid, any disclosure in GST at 9 or 9C required? No, this is a wrong method. You should have claimed in GST at 3B by September 2019. After that, the credit becomes time barred. There is an interpretation issue which says that what is meant by availment of credit. Is reporting in 3B important or accounting in books is important? But it is again an interpretation issue. In my, in a very conservative view, your credit is time barred. Department will not allow it. And see whether you have a liability or not. You can always disclose the credit, right? There is no restriction to say that if there is no output liability, you cannot disclose your ITC. So there was nothing stopping you from reporting in your GST 3B till September 2019. Where is it question?
That question has been moved to answered, sir.
Okay, sorry. So now I have to reply this re-import of jewelry.
Yes, yes, re-import.
Re-import of jewelry was done in March 2019, which was sent for exhibition. IGST was paid on re-import but not claimed in 3B of March 19. Subsequently, department clarified in July 19 that no IGST is required to be paid in case of re-import. Restriction to claim ITC before September 19 applies to IGST paid on re-import, whether to claim this credit in 1819 or 1920. If IGST was not required to be paid in case of re-import, you can also have an option to claim refund under the Customs Act, because on import of goods, because if you are paying IGST, you will also pay basic custom duty. I'm not sure of under the Customs Act. So that is one part which you might need to check on this case. If you are claiming refund of customs, IGST is also duty of customs only because it's there under the Customs Act. So you might need to check on that part. There should not be double benefit. You claim refund under customs and you also get ITC here. Secondly, like I said, for import of goods, the board has clarified if there's a deferment of claim of ITC, you should report only to the extent you have claimed in GSTR 3B. So let's say if you are claiming, though you have paid in March 19, you have claimed in 1920. In that case, you should report it in 1920 GSTR 9, and since it has been reported in 1920 GSTR 3B also. Okay. If GSTR 2A are showing transaction of previous financial year, how to reconcile? If that is the case, what I would advise you to do is, when you're doing this ITC as per GSTR 2A, you do a less here that, okay, ITC of 2017-18 appearing in 18-19 and do a revised figure of ITC as per GSTR 2A. But I think it's better to ignore that case, because in that case, you always get an additional buffer in the difference amount. Because if let's say if your GSTR 2A is showing inflated by 100 of, say, as per you, GSTR 2A should be 100, but your actually it's showing 120. In that case, you will get a buffer for a difference amount here. The difference will get reduced, and so your department actions might also not get covered. So I think we can ignore that unless it's something very huge or something very material, and it is also impacting our 17-18 reporting. With zero ITC credit throughout time period, can department raise question on such customers on timing difference on 182 days? I'm not sure. I'm not able to get this query. So maybe we'll take it on live session. Credit of 17-18 reversed in 18-19. We have disclosed only in table 7 or also in table 12 also. No, credit of 17-18 which is reversed in 18-19, you have to report it in GSTR 9 table 7, and it is not required to be reported in 13. But if you're preparing this table, you should report it, because then it will help you in reducing the difference or giving the correct situation of your table 8 annexure. If you're not reporting table 8, if you're not required to file GSTR 9C and you're doing only GSTR 9, in that case, you're not required to report, because they are only asking for details of credit claimed in the next financial year. Okay. Now we come to the last part of GSTR 9, which is related to disclosure of refunds, particulars of demands and refund. Here, they are asking you to submit details of refund claim filed during the year and what is the status. Okay. And not relating to details of refund claim filed for the tax period falling in this financial year. If you are claiming 17-18 refund in 18-19, that will get reported here and you have to give breakup. We had an initial query of, I have exported on payment of IGST, and there is no option of filing a separate refund claim. It's an automatic refund. In that case also, you should note that, in case of exports on payment of IGST, the law itself says that filing of shipping bill, that in itself is a claim of refund. Therefore, in my view, if you are disclosing details of table 15, you should disclose those data here also. Importantly, or luckily, table 15 is not mandatory for financial year 17-18 and 18-19. It will become applicable from next financial year unless some relaxation is given. Next, information on supplies received from composition taxpayers deemed supply under section 143 and goods sent on approval basis. If, as you would be aware, even in your GSTR 3B, there's an option to give this data. Same information you can continue giving here also. Many times clients, first create a fuss about, reconciling with books of accounts. In my view, you should not do it. If you're disclosing GSTR 3B, just keep that figures here. No other figure you need to report here. This is only an information purpose and it does not imposes any liability on you. Next, 17 and 18, it was a pain point for 17-18 audit, giving HSN by summary of outward supplies and inward supplies. the portal used to compulsory insist on 6-digit HSN codes. They used to do a match with the corresponding tax rate that you applied. So if let's say your taxable value was 100 and the applicable tax rate was 18 for a particular HSN code, the total of tax should have been 18 only. Even if it was 18.01, the portal used to throw out an error, and people were required to file it online only. Manually doing it in Excel was always a subject matter of dispute, because HSN match ही नहीं होता था कभी किसी का उसमें. Fortunately for 17-18, 18-19, HSN summary is not mandatory. But if it becomes mandatory for 19-20, I think you should start that audit now only, otherwise it will be difficult. 19, late fee payable and paid. I think this is auto-populated figures. Yeah. I'll just take up the next Q&A from this. Okay. Tran 1 credit already shown in 17-18. However, it is auto-populated in 18-19, GSTR 9. What should be done? If it is coming again and if you don't want to claim it, if it's not claiming that year, you can ignore it. You can make it 0. There is no other option to do. Next, how to show ITC reverse for financial 17-18 in current financial year 18-19. It was not shown separately as ITC reversal. It was shown as net ITC availed in GSTR CB. So like I said, if you're preparing your annexure for table 8 and filing it along with the GSTR 9C, you can prepare a working and report it accordingly. Otherwise, there is no other option. If you're only into GSTR 9, you are not required to file 9C. As and when department audit comes, you can always prepare an explanation. You can prepare a reconciliation statement and submit it to them and hope that they understand what you're trying to say to them. Next query, if RCM of financial year 17-18 has been paid via DRC 03 in financial year 19-20, will the dealer be allowed to claim the credit of such RCM in 19-20? This is a legal issue, interpretation of the provisions of involving interpretation of the provisions of the Act. In my view, you can claim the credit. The time limit should not apply, but you might need to take a considered view, proper legal view on this subject matter. ITC of bill of entry of 18-19 not considered in 3B. Can be claimed in GSTR 9? No fresh credits can be claimed in GSTR 9. If you want to claim any credit, that credit can take place only through GSTR 3B. If you miss to claim in GSTR 3B and the time limit has expired, the credit is lost, you cannot claim it. We have claimed the GST credit based on invoice in March 19, but party has shown that invoice in April 19 has bill date 1st April 19 instead of 31st March 19. Due to restriction on portal, he cannot amend the date. How can we claim ITC in financial year 18-19? This is a genuine issue with many which takes place when you're dealing with unorganized sector. What you should be doing is, if you can pass an entry in your books of account to change your invoice details and accordingly give treatment in your GSTR 9, that would be the only option available with you. Pay tax in 18-19 and in 19-20 show it as a fresh availment of credit. There is no other option available to you. This is a legal issue which you have to, or procedural issue which you have to deal with this. I think there are no other queries.
Parth, just a second. There are certain queries which I think were pending. If you can just scroll your screen to the top, there'll be 3 or 4 questions which might be of concern. Sorry, but
no issues,
just scroll on the top.
Yeah. The first Q&A is I think the first question talks about the scope of GST audit vis-a-vis and GSTR 9. The querist is asking, are we supposed to report violation of GST rules like non-reversal of ITC for non-payment to dealer? My topic does not revolve around GSTR 9C, but still this is a very live issue as to what is the scope of auditor when dealing with GSTR 9C. See, GSTR 9 is not your responsibility as a taxable person. GSTR 9 filing is a responsibility of the company or the taxpayer, and if they want to discharge, it's well and good during the 9. But if you're doing GSTR 9C, whether you are required to report it, if you go to the press release issued by CBIC, they have very clearly said that what you are supposed to do is only reconciliation. They don't ask you, or they don't expect you to go into legal issues. Let's say they don't expect you to go and check if the POS is correct. If the client has taken a position that in a particular transaction, the place of supply rule is so and so, he can continue with it. You're not required to go and report it and do any issue with that. So accordingly, even in this case, I don't think you are required to go and say that if a client has not done reversal under Rule 37 for non-payment to dealer, or if he's claimed credit which in your view is blocked credit, but he believes it is eligible to him. Let's say he wants to follow the decision of Safari Retreats of Orissa High Court and claim credit on immovable property. I don't think that we are required to go and do a reporting under GST 9C. At the most, you can take a letter of comfort from your client that okay, we are taking this credit, it is because of this decision, so and so. Okay, so that is one part. Next, if GST paid as per GSTR CB is more than GSTR1, GSTR1 and books are matching, how to treat additional amount paid. So here this is a case where your liability as per GSTR1 is 100, even books is showing 100, but CB is 120 by any mistake. Let's say there was some credit note in a particular month which you have not claimed in GSTR CB, and it goes on to be unclaimed till September 19. So now we cannot claim in GSTR CB also. How will we deal with this? This will result in a situation where a GSTR 9 shows an excess payment of service of GST to the tune of rupees 20. Here, CB, the board has in March 20 also clarified through a circular where if there's a difference in your GSTR 1 and GSTR CB, and that difference is not adjustable in any months, you can go back and claim the refund of the tax which is excess paid. And we have a couple of cases on our clients where we actually received the refund also. The refund might not be received in cash because they generally say that you have paid it through your balancing credit ledger. So they will give it back to your credit ledger only. They are not very happy in giving you back the amount in your cash ledger. That is one part you should keep in mind. Zero rated export on payment of tax refund received directly into bank account as soon as GST or 1 data matches. Whether these refunds are required to be shown in GST in table as refund claimed and refund received. Like I said, yes, because even if you are exporting goods on payment, goods on payment of GST or on payment of IGST, filing of shipping bill marks a claim of refund, though it is processed by the customs officers, and therefore you should, on a conservative view, report it in table 15 of GSTR 9. Please note for 18-19, there is no option to, there is no compulsion, it's optional to file table 15, and therefore you might skip for this particular year. In 1920, you need to give details of all refund claims filed, provided the exemption from reporting this is not extended. What will be the treatment of, I'm still not clear about this particular query of treatment of purchased goods in transit as on year end. If you can allow the speaker to speak and explain the facts, it would be great. Next, GST input credit on financial transaction as per credit card of individual allowable. If you satisfy the conditions prescribed under section 16, it will be allowable. So I'm not going into merits because credit card there at times you might not have given your vendor your GST number to that supplier. He's not going to file his GSTR1. Then you're not satisfying the conditions under the section 16, and so your credit might be denied. If all the conditions are satisfied, like say today also, even if you buy some Google subscription for your office, say Gmail subscription, you might buy it from a personal credit card. But there, when you're filling the form, you'll be giving your GST details. And when you do that, you'll be eligible to claim the credit. It's only a mode of payment credit card. Important thing is that you should have the copy of invoice. You should have the credit should be appearing in your GSTR 2A, and all those, and the credit should be allowable. If that is satisfied, you will be able to claim the credit. Credit of 17-18 reversed in 18-19, we have disclosed only in table 7 or also in table 12 also. See, in my view, you should not disclose. While for sales side, for outward supplies, we are doing that reconciliation, which we discussed in option 3 of our case study 1. For ITC, it is advisable to not get into the specifics. If your client is liable to GSTR 9C, what they can do is they can do an option. They can take the option of giving that statement as an exhibit to GSTR 9 while filing GSTR 9C and give the reconciliation. But otherwise, you should not do it. Just disclose whatever credit of 18-19 has been claimed or reversed in 19-20. That should be sufficient compliance. Okay. Next Q&A. Credit of 17-18 reversed in 18-19. Okay, I think we have explained this. How can we reverse ITC credit for financial year 17-18 in annual return of financial year 18-19 under which table? As I explained, your credit claim or your reporting of ITC details has to be as per GSTR 3B. If financial year 17-18 credit has been reversed in 18-19 GSTR 3B, you can accordingly disclose in table 7, because there will be a breakup for available for that. If you are not reversed, and if you want to now reverse, ideally the better option is to reverse using a DRC 03 challan So that way you can always demonstrate to the officer that, see, I have reversed this credit and it relates to 1718. If the reversal has not been shown in GSTR 3B, if it is shown in GSTR 3B, well and good, it will correlate with the GSTR 9 of 1718, which shows credit of 1718 reversed in 1819. You can correlate with that item. Next query, excess ITC claimed in 1 month, but instead of reversal in next month ITC, increase the output tax liability of the same amount. How to treat in GSTR 9? So I believe the query here revolves around GSTR 3B and the reporting done there. So what happens in GSTR 3B is that if in any particular month your reversal of ITC is more than your fresh ITC availed, that is, there's a negative ITC, that amount is added to your output tax liability. In this case, when you're doing GSTR 9, unfortunately there is no solution to this. GSTR 9 does not give an option to say that how much negative ITC has been added to your output tax liability in any particular month. So in this kind of case, where there's a negative ITC in your GSTR 3B in a particular month, and it has been added to your output tax liability, there will be always a balance in your net payable. There will be an excess payment of tax appearing, but you will have to ignore it. When the officer asks you about this excess payment, you can show him the GSTR 3B of that particular month and say him that, boss, see, my GSTR 3B for this month, my output supply was 100, but the GSTR 3B itself picked up my liability as 120 on outward supplies. Why? Because 20 rupees negative ITC it has transferred here. But while dealing with GSTR 9, there is no solution available here. If we have electronic credit balance, then where to reverse? DRC 03, then we have to pay even after we have credit balance. Okay, we have electronic. So I believe that you want to reverse the balance appearing in your credit ledger. You can do it using DRC 03. There is no restriction on using credit by reversing your any or suo moto doing any reversal of or discharge of liability. There is one dispute which is going around in GSTR 9. They have said that if there is any liability which you have to pay as per GSTR 9, liability which you have determined after filing GSTR 9, and if I'm filing it or paying it through through DRC 03, the rules say that you have to pay in cash. And no, not even the rules, only the format says that the liability should be discharged using balance in cash ledger. But there is nothing in the law which says that, corroborates that claim. So you can obviously pay your DRC 03 dues using credit balance also. Any queries pending, Pradeep Bhai? I think we have covered all of this.
Yes, sir, we have covered all queries. Now, only in case if any queries are not covered, which were there in the Excel, which we had received, in case if those are not covered, then we can take them. So,
I think, can we ask the members only to raise their hands?
no, raising your hand, they normally put the questions in the chat box. So we have received one more question just now. So you can take that up, sir.
Can add their queries, we will take up them.
Yeah, I'll post them in a chat that they can post the queries.
Excess ITC claimed in 1 month, but instead of reversal in next month in ITC, it increases the output liability. I think I have replied to this. Can any auto-populated information report for GST auditor before filing GSTR 9C audit report? Yes, so once you file GSTR 9, the portal will give you pre-filled data for GSTR 9C. In GSTR 9C, whatever data is to come from GSTR 9 for comparison, there is an option to download a PDF. The portal will give you system computed. Secondly, the portal will also give you an Excel utility pre-filled with this data. You have an option to download GSTR 9C utility for each client separately, each registration separately, which will contain the pre-filled data of GSTR 9. Only catch here is that will be option is available only after you have filed your GSTR 9 and not on the basis of draft GSTR 9. Okay. Is this has been answered? The next query I think is not clarified yet. Excess ITC through DRC 03, can CGST, SGST set off against rate of IGST? I think yes, there is no restriction. You can cross-utilize the balance of credits. 2017-18 credit note amendment in 18-19. How to report in 18-19? Like I said, if you have reported correctly in your GSTR 3B, and only amendment is relating to GSTR 1 data, let's say you are changing your TIN invoice reference or a GSTN of the client, you do not need to take any reporting here. Your details relating to outward supplies, that is your income side, has to be based on your GSTR 3B reporting. The question that you need to ask yourself is whether in GSTR 3B I have claimed it correctly in 17-18 or not. let's say in 1718 you have claimed only 80 rupees in your GSTR 9. In your GSTR 3B, the credit note amount was for 100 rupees, but you have claimed only 80 rupees. 80 rupees in advertising and 20 rupees you have claimed in 1819. In that case, what will happen is, or what you should do is preferably is you reduce that 20 rupees when doing your table 4. Okay, so that way it will match with the GSTR 3B. And corresponding amount you add to your table 10. When you say that this is the tax liability which I have paid relating to 1718, but I am paying in this year. This is an adjustment. I would advise you that you go through option 3 of my case study 1 for this query, where I have dealt it with the help of an example also. Turnover of taxable goods 10 lakhs and exempted or petroleum products is say 10 crores is dealer liable for 9 and 9C. Yes, aggregate turnover includes non-GST supply also. So on a conservative side, you should pay it. You should do the GSTR 9 and 9C also. In fact, in one of our clients' case, we are in a particular situation where he is dealing with in a construction service where we had an exemption of 1/3 of land rate. So after the land deduction, his turnover is 4.5 crores. But if I consider that before considering that land deduction, it's more than 5 crores. So we are advising the client that you should go for 9 and 9C to avoid any future issue from the department. Are there any chance for extension of date for filing of GSTR 9 and 9C? I don't know. Due to COVID impact, same query. I think it should be extended because even GSTR 4 has been extended, but we cannot say with surety till the time it is not appearing. Okay, this has been answered. I think Paresh Bhai's query has also been answered, right? So we can. Any other query left?
No, sir. No other queries left. Vijay Bhai, can you take over?
Okay. Thank you very much for a patient hearing. It was good to speak before all of you. I hope it was I could add some value to all of you members. Thank you.
Vijay sir, you can take over, sir.
Yeah, 1 minute. So, kindly allow my video, no?
Should I unmute myself?
You will have to stop screen sharing for the.
Yeah, Pradeep, just allow my video to be on, no? It's muted.
Sir, it is allowed, sir. It is allowed. Yes, sir.
Thank Parth for such a wonderful session we had. And Pradeep, I hope there is no more queries from the participant either in QA box or in the Excel statements.
No, sir, I can't see any more questions pending, sir.
Okay. So, indeed, Parth, it's wonderful that you have come here, you graced our occasion, and once a great man has whispered, feeling thankfulness and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it. Today, I should take this opportunity to put my gratitude into words. On behalf of BCSE and all members, I would like to thank you, our speaker Parth Shah, for taking his precious time out and consenting to be the speaker on the topic of GST annual filing. He has explained the most difficult filing regarding the various table, be it 6A, table number 5, or table 6C, 6D, etc., etc. Sir, your presentation was wonderful, and you answered all the queries raised by the members. On behalf of BCSE, I propose a well-deserved vote of thanks and request the member to carry out with a loud applause. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Parth. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Parth.
thank you, Parth.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. You can leave the meeting, sir. No problem. Thank you, sir. I think बंद कर देते हैं meeting.